everybody, back from popular demand. This is another episode of eyeBytes. I'm your host, Daniel, and with me, as always, my partner in crime, the Robin to my Batman, the one, the only, Sajandeep.
Hey, how you doing, Daniel?
We're doing this one more time. Apparently, some people like the podcast. They wanted us to come back. So after rave reviews, mainly 3 or 4 5-star reviews from friends and family, we paid them a lot for that. So we decided to come back for another month, another episode. This one's going to be a bit of a short one. We actually have a very, very special guest today. Back before we started this podcast, we were struggling to find a name for this podcast. Believe it or not, this is not, the name that we came out with is not our baby. We actually have the podcast name's creator here with us right now in studio. Well, actually virtual through Zoom. The one and the only, our wonderful friend, Samantha. Welcome to the podcast, Sam. You are technically our first guest, so welcome.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me, you guys. I'm so excited. This is so exciting.
Now, have you done podcasts before, or this is your first one? Or
I have actually. I've done a couple. I've done some for work in the past. I've done some for friends. I co-hosted a podcast with a friend for a while, like way back pre-pandemic. And then obviously pandemic stuff kind of got more complicated and everyone got pulled in different directions. But yeah, a little bit, but not too many. So this is really exciting.
See, what you're supposed to say is, yes, Dan, this is my first podcast with you guys.
My first ever.
Now I feel like, wow, okay. We were a bit too late in the game. We should have invited you sooner. But yeah, for those wondering, going back to what we were talking about earlier. So the name, we were struggling on the name and we pushed it out to our friends saying, whoever comes up with the name that we end up using, we'll invite. And Sam was the one, the lucky one who gave us a wonderful name, by the way. Actually, we do love it.
eyeBytes. And I love it too. It's awesome.
Yeah, so that's what we thought. You know what? As soon as we have a chance, once we get our sea legs beneath us and we kind of get a feel for how to do the podcasting, we'll bring her on as a guest. And plus, there's also another reason why we brought you on. But for starters, the first thing we want to talk about first, iOS 15.2 came out this week. I haven't looked at some of these features that were brought up. I heard it was the new the Apple Music voice plan that they came out with that's now available that you can get. I think it's, I don't know what the price tag is. Do you know what the price tag is for this thing?
Yeah, it's like $4.99.
Canadian or American?
Canadian.
Really? I thought it was $49 American. Oh, well.
See, in Canada, the previous plan, the individual plan is $10, and then the family plan was like $16 a month, and then the student plan was $5 a month. But now this voice plan is also $5, but it's individual. It's not like a family or anything.
Okay, well, I don't know, Sam, is that one thing you like? Do you have Apple Music or?
I do actually, and so many people throw hate my way for having Apple Music. I think so many people love Spotify,
yes.
But I personally just like having all of my stuff together. And because I'm an Apple user, to me, it's just easier. And I'm not very tech savvy, so it's just easier for me to have Apple Music. Like I'm weird like that.
Well, the nice thing is also with Apple Music is you can just tell Shlomo, hey, can you play this band or play popular music from this band or the latest album? Or you can ask him questions like, who's the singer for this band? Or when was this album released or song released? So having that integration with iOS, I like it a lot myself. Like I have multiple HomePods around the house, so I can just tell Shlomo when she actually works. Sometimes I'll ask her, like, the speaker next to me and the one across the house is actually the one that answers. I'm like, no, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the one next to me right here. But when she does actually work, then after that, it's great to be able to ask her, play the latest album from Theory of a Dead Man. I love that band, by the way. And, or play the top popular country music. Yes, I'm a country guy, but it's always pretty nice to be able to ask her anything you want to play and she'll play it pretty well. So, but yeah, so that's one of the things that came out. There was also, I think, the legacy feature. So for example, if you, once you set it up, if you happen to pass away, you can set up a family member or friend and they can gain access to your iCloud account. I don't think they gain access to your apps purchases or your movie or music purchases. They just gain access to your iCloud, your photos, your contacts. So that way you don't actually lose your information. They can get it.
That's right.
That's all I have on my list. I don't know if there's anything else I might have missed, Saj? Or?
Yeah, there's a new privacy feature. I can't remember the name. I'm just going to settings right now, actually. You can find it under settings, privacy, and all the way down. I believe it's the last option. And there, the phone will keep a log of every single app when it used the microphone, when it used the camera, and how many minutes and seconds it actually used it for. So I remember when Apple introduced something where when you when you copy something, you'll get a little alert at the top of the screen saying, hey, this app copied something. And then if you paste it somewhere, it will say, hey, Facebook pasted from Safari. Now you can actually see that log, how many times that app did that and stuff right in the settings app. And TikTok got caught where it was keep looking at your clipboard for no reason. TikTok doesn't need the clipboard. So
no. TikTok, you bad little boy.
Yeah. For those kind of things, I do really appreciate that, because once in a while we'll go and see and say, hey, how many times did Facebook actually use my microphone in the background, right? If it does. But yeah.
Yeah, so there's other stuff. I'm just going through The Verge. I think they have a list of different. So the TV app apparently on iPad is they've changed the look and feel of the iPad app, TV app, iPad app.
It has a sidebar.
Hide My Email is now available in the Mail app apparently. There's also the right to repair. Also, they added, I think, not with iOS 15.2, but they added that recently where if you have any issues with repairs, you can actually request and they'll send you the tools and the parts to fix your hardware if you want, which, it could be good or not. For me, when it breaks, I just go to Apple and have them fix it because I'm like, I'm not techie and have no vision, no skills to actually repair anything. So I let the professionals take care of that.
It's good for people who, who like to open things, their phones and buy the parts separately, because I think it'll be cheaper because you're paying for Apple, the employee, to actually take your phone in and actually taking the phone apart for you and putting it back together, where it will be cheaper to buy the parts and you do it on your own. But again, it's on your own risk. If you do break something, it's your fault. So
exactly. I don't know if that avoids a warranty or not, but like we always say, at your own risk if you decide to do this. So, but all right. So moving on to the next thing. One of the reasons why we brought Sam in today is because last month we talked about Apple TV Plus. It was out for about 2 years now. There was a lot of TV shows. When they first started, had a few, and over the past 2 years, they've added more and more. I'm actually liking a lot more of the shows nowadays. I started watching, I don't know if you guys have listened to, bloody hell, what's it called again? It's the new one with Paul Rudd and Will Ferrell. He's a psychiatric, what is he called? Psychologist or something. And I don't remember what it's called, but bloody hell. I kind of liked it until I realized that Paul Rudd's the psychologist and he's manipulating Will Ferrell's character to get more and more control of his life. I'm like, this guy's a creep. And having seen Ant-Man, I'm like, I don't like this, so I'm going to stop watching it. So it was okay. But anyway, so they've added more and more shows. I don't know, Sam, have you been watching a lot of Apple TV Plus or?
I actually haven't. I do like Apple TV for shows that I can't find, like either I can't stream online or I can't find on Netflix or Disney Plus or that kind of thing. But I am noticing that a lot of the Apple TV originals are looking a little more interesting, because I did see that one that you're talking about. And I remember thinking like, oh, those are some bigger actors. And it seems like they're getting more comfortable with creating their own content. So I might check those out actually. And I'd love to know what other stuff they're making themselves. It's really neat.
Well, I know that they just finished off a couple of shows recently. The first season of Foundation finished a few weeks ago. That was based, I think, a book off of Isaac Asimov. I actually watched it. I thought it was pretty good. I liked it. It's more science fiction-y. I don't know if you're a science fiction girl, Sam, or not, but
oh yes, big time.
You might like that. A lot of powerful women in there. The kind of women who I don't take any crap from anybody. I'm gonna solve this problem myself. I don't need a guy. So I think it's an awesome show. I loved it. There was also Invasion, which is another one I liked about alien invasion. And I've read that apparently Invasion's coming back for season 2. I think Foundation's coming back for season 2. The morning show finished from the last month that we talked about it. I did not like the way it ended with Mr. Mitch Keller dying. I'm like, no, but it was good. But the reason why we brought Sam in is because there's a favorite show that I started watching. First season, okay. Second season was much better. And I have to admit, this show, for those wondering what the hell I'm talking about C, basically the Game of Thrones for blind people. And first season came out. I watched it. It was a good show. And season 2 came out. I actually enjoyed it more than season 1. And again, the reason why we brought Sam is because she happened to be on season 2 of C. So I don't know if you can tell us, how did this start? How did this come on your desk? And why did you, what was your interest in doing this?
Oh my God, so many different things. So I first came across the role when Fighting Blindness Canada posted, I believe it was on their Instagram page. It was definitely on their social media, that they were just looking for, there was an open casting call for blind and low vision actors for C. And I hadn't really heard of it before at that point. Maybe I had seen an ad, but maybe never really thought about it. And then I looked it up and I thought, oh, this looks really cool. So I emailed the casting agency. And what I do want to kind of get, just make a little side note, is that a lot of roles, when, places are looking for blind and low vision actors, a lot, or any actors with specific disabilities, because they are trying to cast for that role, I do find a lot of the time it's open-ended auditions. They're just put out open to the public. And this is just my personal opinion, and I think what I've heard from a lot of other actors, or blind and low vision actors, is that it's because there's not many in the industry. You don't, even in your day-to-day life, like outside of acting, any industry, you don't come across blind and low vision people very often. And if you do, you may not even notice unless they tell you. So I find that for a lot of those roles, they have to reach like far and wide and really search for who they want and sort of call upon everyone, because for so long the industry hasn't been accessible to a variety of communities. And then when they try and bring these communities in, all of a sudden it can be kind of a struggle to search for who you need when you do want to make an impact and do want to provide other people with those opportunities, because up until that point, they haven't really been involved or accommodated or included in some of these roles. So anyway, so I just came across, an open posting. Tons of people saw it. I believe CNIB and tons of other organizations were posting the same thing as well. And I just sent in an audition tape. They had me read for a couple of different roles. And what I did really like is that they tried, and maybe this is just how I felt, but I feel like they genuinely tried to incorporate the blind and like low vision audition tapes that they did get, because they wanted to provide that extra support that maybe those performers or actors hadn't gotten for other roles. I think a lot of people say, oh, is it even important? Is authentic representation important? And I think yes, because we started with an imbalance, right? For so long, film was just one type of demographic. It was just your straight, white, typical happy-go-lucky actors and actresses. And slowly, when you start bringing in these other roles, people only want them for like certain roles, like comedic roles or to laugh at. And I think that's whenever a new demographic breaks into film, there's like a process that we sort of see of, okay, first they get the comical roles, then they move into other stereotypical roles, then they start getting things that are more serious and more diverse. So it was definitely an interesting journey to watch, because it's still so in the beginning phases of that. But yeah, so eventually I sent in some tapes. I heard back from them. COVID put things on hold for a while. And once things started up again, I just thought, if they wanted me, they would have reached out to me. But I thought, what the heck? I'll send them a random email now that I know that they're filming again. Have you guys finished your search? And they said, oh yeah, we're still looking for people now that we're up and going. Why don't you read for these roles? And I ended up getting a one-line role at the very end of the season, like season finale. And it was so cool. I was super excited. And it was just really neat.
If you watch the last episode, 8 minutes and 11 seconds, and I've counted this to the second. So 8 minutes, 11 seconds. I would put a clip into the podcast, but I'm just too afraid Apple might come back at us and say, yeah, take that down. So if you go in the last episode of season 2 and 8 minutes and 11 seconds into it, it's the part where they're in the Ford, they're being barraged by the enemy. And all of a sudden, I think Jason Momoa's character, Baba Voss, hears something in the distance. And his kids are like, wow, what are you hearing? He's like, And he's like, oh, the Lost Tribes. And all of a sudden, this big fanfare of a big group of people coming on horses and everything. And past characters from season 1, I think Bull Lion shows up, and they have Paris, which I love that character, by the way. She's such an awesome character. But then after that, there's 4 people who introduce themselves. Like, we insert tribe name here, fight with Bubba Voss. And if you listen to that scene, the last person who speaks and says, the rain standing with Bubba Voss, that is Samantha actually speaking. And it took me a while to re-listen to, like, is that Sam? I'm like, because you kept telling us at the beginning of the season that
people, anyone that I know that has seen the episode or has listened to it had a hard time picking me out. Like, couldn't figure out which person I was. And to be fair, like the shot is so quick. And I think a lot of people, especially my sighted friends, are looking for me and not actually listening. And then when they see it a second time, they're like, oh my gosh, like there you are. And I think it's because they've seen it already, and then they're actually listening to my voice to pick out which one is me.
Oh,
also, I do sound very.
Can you say the lines to us, Sam?
The famous line.
Yeah.
Oh, can you say the famous line?
Pretty cool.
Can
I say the famous line?
Yes.
I know. We can be copyrighted if you say the line. Or?
I have no idea. So I will be safe and not say it. So people can go and.
Well, I think it says, we the rain fight with Bubba Voss. I think that's what you say. So, I remember at the beginning, you kept telling us that, you told us that to keep our ears open. And I actually started listening to him like, okay, I'm going to listen every single episode. I'm going to see if I can hear Sam. And I couldn't, I'm like halfway through, I'm like, okay, well, she's not. There was a part where they go to like the side of the village. I'm like, maybe she's going to be in here. I'm like, no, okay, she's not there. And then the last episode I heard, I'm like, okay, there's 4 people saying something. I'm like, I wonder if Sam's one of them. The second girl who said, I think it's like, we the serpent something fight with Bubba Voss. I'm like, oh, doesn't sound like Sam. But yeah, the last one, I'm like, is that Sam? I know I texted you. I was like, was that you? I said, yeah, it was me. I'm like, yeah, I can hear your voice now. I can hear it now. We don't really hear you scream that loud normally. So I was like, it was kind of off to hear you go scream very loudly. So, but it was fun. It was definitely cool to have somebody we know that's on that show.
Yeah. And it was really neat to be on the show and see, because there was a few actors actually that were either more regular roles or smaller roles that were blind and low vision. And the ones that I was with, it was really neat to see that they also they had careers in acting. Like for me, it's sort of something that I do as like a side advocacy thing. I think if you are going to portray someone with a disability or someone with vision loss, your actor should have some experience in that field. Like I think it's relevant. And so it was really neat to see that people whose careers were in that field were getting those opportunities, right? And I'd love to see more of that in the future. Actually, Netflix just announced that they have cast a blind woman in the role of a blind character. I believe it's for a mini series based on the novel All the Light We Cannot See. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it or not, but it was really exciting because I don't think we've ever had a blind actor play a blind lead. It's always been a sighted actor playing a blind lead. And then that just sort of enforces these stereotypes of, where they look and how they look and what they look at and what does it look like when a blind person is looking at something. So it's really cool that they're going to have that perspective on set with them, like maybe pointing out, hey, these are the stereotypes. Let's do something that's more accurate.
I remember the first season when they announced it, some of the blind podcasters I listened to, I think when Robin Christopherson was brought in as a consultant to kind of, and I like that they brought in some blind individuals to come in and kind of give them some ideas on how this civilization might have survived being blind, and giving some tips on how they would move around and listen and how they would portray themselves on camera. And I thought it was kind of interesting that they actually went that extra step to make sure that they put it as authentic as possible. And having blind actors come in and actually play blind roles, I think that's even better because it gives the blind community even more opportunities to be involved in these types of projects.
Yeah, and what I loved, my favorite part, I think, was when I realized that. So they do a little workshop with you, right? And they sort of took me through. This is how these people, this is what O&M skills, for people who don't know, that's orientation and mobility skills. That's what this looks like in this post-apocalyptic type setting where everyone has only ever been blind, and it's all the same condition. It's not like a spectrum in the real world. They've sort of created this own world, and they had different O&M skills for like different ways of walking and navigating for people in more urban tribes and urban areas of this world, and for people who were more, people in the bush and people that were in the forest and maybe surviving in more rural areas. How those two groups navigate is completely different, right? Like the types of movement you make when you might fall off of a cliff are very different than if you're walking through sand or flat land that you know very, very well.
Well, I'm sure that would happen to me falling off a cliff, especially in that kind of world. Where's everybody? I've hit school buses. I've fallen down ditches, so I'm pretty certain I'd be one of the first people to go. So
it's better than the school bus hitting you.
Yeah, but it was embarrassing because the school bus was actually parked when I hit it.
Oh no!
So yeah, not a very interesting story, but
not good.
So when you went there, like, how was the experience on set meeting all these actors? Like, I'm sure we've asked you before, like with Jason Momoa, like, how was it meeting him? And we've heard a lot of stuff that he's a super nice guy and cares about the other people around him and make sure that they're comfortable.
Oh, he is, and so was everyone else on that set. Like, I think everyone I spoke to, hair and makeup or other actors or anyone that I came into contact with was really genuine and wanted to make sure I was comfortable and that, everyone else there was comfortable. And it's weird because I've done smaller advocacy roles. Like I've played other blind or low vision characters in like the background of stuff. And typically, especially from what I've heard of friends in film, how extras and how cast members are treated is very different. I think anyone who works in acting would tell you that. But it's always interesting because my only experience in film is as a special skills extra or as like, as sort of like a guest. Like they're reaching out to you because they know that this community is hard to involve. They're trying to make it a positive experience. So I'm very privileged in the sense that every time, even if I had a smaller role, I was still a guest in a way. I was still someone that they wanted to make sure was comfortable. So it's strange to speak about my experience in film because I feel like it would be very different from a blind or low vision actor that is trying to go for sighted roles and to try and go for all of those other opportunities that maybe aren't accessible. So I don't know what the difference would look like, but I've heard that it can be really challenging. So I'm always aware of that too. But everyone on set was phenomenal and just so helpful.
Did they have any like accommodations for the blind actors that were there, like maybe shepherds or people to help you go around the set?
Yeah, so they had sighted guides specifically because people who had, I believe there was a couple of people there with guide dogs, and they didn't, especially it was really cold the day we did it. I think it was like -20 or something crazy.
Oh, wow.
So, and for guide dogs, if you repeat an action, that's usually a negative thing, or it means that you got the action wrong. So in film, they don't use real guide dogs. One, because it takes away from a person who may need it. And two, it can kind of mess up their training a little bit. So they had people on set and they had, the dogs in like a nice warm space with food and water. And, usually someone was kind of around to help take care of them. But yeah, they actually had people on set that were, guiding us and making sure we didn't fall off of a fake cliff.
Yeah, that would be embarrassing.
Yeah, it was really interesting. But at the same time, there was also a lot that could have been done more. And that's not a negative comment towards Apple. I think that's just the industry in general. I think anytime you have a new community breaking into something, you've got to figure out, okay, well, we've done it this way for so long. We're trying to make it better, but it's not going to be perfect right off the bat. I think that's an easy thing to sort of acknowledge,
Well, they have to work out the kinks and,
exactly
try to find the way how to make it work. But at least, like I said, they're bringing in people who actually live that experience, who know what it is to be blind. So it's kind of cool that they, like, when you mentioned this, I think they sent an email for season 3. I sent my photo and I sent I said, hey, I'd love to be on this. No, I don't know if I'll be on it. I might try that trick, just send another email saying, hey, you guys still looking? Because I didn't do that. I just sent one email with my photo of me and my guide dog. Sadly, he retired, so I don't have him anymore. But I'm hoping they come back to me and says, yeah, we'd love to have you on. I'm like, oh, great. But now, do you know your character's name, or did they ever give it her name? Or
no, it was actually just Rain Leader, which was the name of the hidden tribe leader. Mm-hmm. And what I really liked was, I think a lot of people assume that film, sometimes things are done meaninglessly. And in certain areas, I think, yes, that can be true. But nothing you see in film or television is not thought of by the director. So when they had me go in for like a movement class, which apparently everyone on cast and a lot of other people on staff took, they sort of addressed some really deep things. Like one of the things that they asked me was, how do you relate to this character? Do you think what kind of leader do you think she is? Is she really assertive, or is she calm and cool and sort of always has control? And, what part of yourself living in a world as someone with a disability, what do you want to bring to this role? Like, what chips on your shoulder do you want to bring? What positive things do you want to bring? Like they asked me that, and I was not expecting that at all. And I really liked that they did that. Like they had a word for everyone, and they said, what word do you want your character to feel? And everyone got to pick their own. Like I got to pick mine. Shayla got to pick hers. I believe Victor got to pick his. Like that was something we all brought.
Nice. That's awesome. Pretty intense that they had so much in depth. They want to make sure that they had a full-fledged character, not just a character that's on screen for like 2 seconds and that's it. Like they wanted to make sure it was a full depth to the character.
Yeah, and I love that. And even though I joke about it all the time. Like I tell my friends and family, I'm like, guys, it was one line. Like you need to chill. But at the end of the day, like that one line carried a lot of weight, and they really showed me the importance of that. And I totally appreciate that. I thought it was really cool.
Well, you were a complete badass too when you said it too.
Thank you.
But yeah, hopefully, I don't know if they'll bring your character back for season 3. I would kind of be cool if they could bring it back. Like, are you hoping you can be brought back, or?
I don't know. It's an interesting subject. I know Apple likes to keep things super secretive, and I don't even think they would tell me. They sort of mentioned it, but the thing is that I think because people want to come back and say like, oh, I heard, rumors that they're going to bring us back. Like, you don't know. Film can be so up in the air. You never know.
Would you like to go back?
They might say one week, we'll bring it back. And then the following week, when we change our mind, like, I keep reading a lot that, the script changes all the time. Like, I listen to a podcast for Star Trek, and they always say, every week the script changes from week to week. So I can imagine that Apple is probably the same thing for a lot of their shows. Like, every week the script changes. So they might decide, 1 week, we'll bring this character back. And 2 weeks later, we don't need this character anymore.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be able to tell you anyway. So, yeah.
We'll keep our ears open, see if we hear Sam's voice screaming again. So, Sad, do you have any other questions you want to ask her?
I was going to ask her, would you like to go back again?
Oh, yeah. I mean, film is one of those things that I think if you do all the time, it would be really exhausting. Some people thrive on that. Some people love the long hours and the go, go, go. I think I love to do it to make an impact and to spread awareness. But I don't know if it's for me as a full-time entertainer, because I can be quite introverted too. I like my sort of downtime, and it's fun. It really teaches you a lot. I like that it's an industry that I'm not fully involved in, because you sort of get this glimpse that, gives you the awareness, gives you ideas for accessibility in other working fields that maybe you have more experience in. So it's cool. I think I like it as a side gig.
I guess we'll leave it at that for now. First of all, I want to say thank you, Sam, for hopping on and joining us for this podcast. And also a big thank you for the name. Hopefully we don't have to send you a copyright fee or anything like that. Or any licensing
Definitely
fees.
Keep it. Use it as you wish.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Also, because we have a domain and everything, we don't want to lose that. But we do appreciate that you giving us an awesome name for the podcast. And we do appreciate you coming on here and talking about your experience on sea. And I don't know if you want to plug anything.
Oh, no. That's totally okay. I like my introvertedness. And thank you for having me. You guys are so fun.
Oh, thank you, Paul. We appreciate you coming. It was a lot. We did promise you, because you gave us a name, that we bring you on the episode. And now that the holidays are coming, we probably won't have another episode until next month, probably like end of January, February, around that time, because holidays are coming around, and we're going to be probably drained and tired from the holidays. But Saj, anything you want to plug yourself, or?
No, actually, we're good. No.
All right. So if you want to reach us and give us some feedback or comments, you can reach us at our email at contact@eyebytes.tech. That is EYEBYTES.TECH. I know last month, Saj, you did mention about Anchor, that we could leave voice recordings. After listening to the recording, you kind of gave the wrong website. It's not anchorfm.com. It's anchor.fm. You can go on there. You can search for our podcast.
Right.
You can leave us a voice message. I've tried it, and I've noticed that in order to leave a voicemail through Anchor, you kind of have to create an account, which kind of sucks. It defeats the purpose. I don't know why they have you create an account. Like, it would be nice if you could just go to the website, put in your name, and then just record. And then when you're done, you send, and that's it. But they want you to create an account for some odd reason. And I'm your host, Daniel. I've been joined, as always, with my good host, Sajandeep, and our good friend, Samantha. Thank you for coming again, and hope you guys all have a wonderful holiday season. And we'll chat you guys next month.